What about the garbage outside today? Robert De Niro, officially sent by the Biden campaign, makes himself look like an idiot and reminds us why Trump is so popular.
It's so stupid. It was colossally stupid. If you're going to send somebody to go speak outside of the Trump trial, make it someone who's universally beloved, like a Michelle Obama. You know, she's not universally loved. She's not loved on the right. But I'm saying, like, at least within the left and the center left, and maybe even some center righties. Robert De Niro has gone so hard partisan over the past 8 years. He is like example number one of Trump derangement.
Over the past several years, Robert De Niro has become increasingly outspoken about politics, and many critics now view him as deeply partisan. For decades, he built a reputation as one of Hollywood's most powerful on-screen figures, playing fearless leaders, hardened anti-heroes, and unforgettable characters who commanded attention the moment they appeared. However, some observers feel that the image he presents off-screen today looks very different from the legendary roles that made him famous. Instead of the calm confidence that defined his classic performances, his public appearances sometimes come across as frustrated and confrontational. Interviews and speeches often spark debate rather than admiration. This is where Megyn Kelly's criticism enters the conversation. Rather than simply making light jokes, she challenges the public image De Niro spent decades building, arguing that the gap between the legendary actor audiences remember and the figure appearing in today's political debates seems wider than ever.
Number 2, Robert De Niro. Congratulations, sir. Another Oscar for the iconic actor who, now 80, appeared on Bill Maher over the weekend and had some choice words about Donald Trump.
The guy is a total monster. And anybody, I don't understand it. I guess they get behind that kind of logic. They want to fuck with people.
There was a time when Robert De Niro dominated the screen in a way that only a handful of actors in Hollywood history ever have. Films like Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, and Goodfellas helped cement his reputation as one of the most powerful performers of his generation. Those roles became cultural landmarks and made him appear almost untouchable in the world of acting. Today, however, critics argue that his public image feels very different. Instead of the commanding Hollywood icon audiences once admired, some see him as a veteran star, struggling to remain relevant in a rapidly changing cultural landscape. Megyn Kelly often highlights this contrast with sharp humor, suggesting that the once intimidating figure now delivers interviews and speeches that feel less powerful than they once might have. For some viewers, watching De Niro speak publicly today can feel less like witnessing a legendary actor commanding the room, and more like seeing an aging celebrity passionately arguing with a television screen.
Play him as an actor, because I can't see any good in him. Nothing at all. Nothing redeemable in him. He's a sociopathic, psychopathic, malignant narcissist.
That could be tough for an actor to play such a hateful man. Someone like, I don't know, like Bernie Madoff, say. A guy who stole $65 billion from nuns and Holocaust survivors like Elie Wiesel and was sentenced to 150.
What makes Robert De Niro such a frequent target for criticism is how seriously he sometimes appears to take his political commentary. He often enters interviews with the confidence of someone convinced his words carry enormous influence. Yet critics say that instead of offering clear insights, the conversations occasionally turn into emotional rants directed at political figures who may no longer pay much attention to his opinions. Megyn Kelly addresses this dynamic with pointed humor, questioning the idea that success in Hollywood automatically translates into authority in political debate. Her broader point is simple. Performing powerful characters written by talented screenwriters does not necessarily make someone an expert in complex political issues.
What Trump is doing to try to keep filmmaking, American filmmaking, in America by slapping tariffs on foreign-made films so that he can basically try to force people to make them domestically again.
Interview. To some critics, De Niro's political speeches feel less like thoughtful analysis and more like dramatic performances. He sometimes speaks about political leaders with the same intensity that once defined his film characters, delivering lines with the passion of someone still standing in front of a movie camera. However, detractors argue that the cinematic weight behind those moments is missing. What remains can feel like an actor attempting to recreate the dramatic presence that once made him famous. Megyn Kelly highlights this contrast by suggesting that De Niro may still be playing the tough guy persona that defined many of his films, even though the setting has shifted from Hollywood sets to real-world political debates.
You make of Above It All Biden now actually going, right? The Democrats were salivating. Trump's stuck in court. He's not going to be able to say anything. Joe Biden's got the whole nation to himself. Meanwhile, they're like, holy shit, all the action's over there. We better get over there right now. Who do we send? Get Robert De Niro. He's one of the biggest stars on earth. Everybody will love him. Well, he got booed to the point where he started to get upset.
Even his anger, critics argue, no longer carries the same impact it once might have. When De Niro raises his voice in interviews, the reaction from audiences is often mixed. Some interpret it as passionate conviction, while others see it as frustration overshadowing the message itself. Megyn Kelly has criticized this style of commentary, suggesting that speaking more loudly does not automatically make an argument stronger. In her view, the intensity sometimes replaces the substance of the discussion.
Robert De Niro has gone so hard partisan over the past 8 years. He is example number one of Trump derangement syndrome. He's one of those, I'm moving to Canada if he wins, and he's never going to leave the White House if he wins. We're going to have Trump forevermore. I mean, hello, I hate to break it to you because I realize you're advanced age too, Robert, but people die. So he will leave. One way or the other, he's going to go. And in the not too distant future, even if Trump says he shouldn't have.
Perhaps the most striking part of the debate is the contrast between De Niro's legendary film career and the way his public appearances are perceived today. In many of his most famous roles, he portrayed intimidating characters who commanded respect through quiet authority and sharp dialogue. Critics argue that the reality now looks very different. Instead of the mysterious figures he once portrayed, they see a celebrity passionately engaging in political arguments long after many viewers have tuned out. Megyn Kelly frequently points to this contrast, arguing that past achievements in Hollywood should not shield public figures from criticism today. While his classic films remain widely respected, she suggests that reputation alone cannot prevent uncomfortable moments when celebrities step far outside their original arena of expertise.
People shouting him down like, your movies suck. That's not true.
No, his movies are very good.
Suck. He's one of the greatest actors. I mean, he's the heir apparent to Brando, blah, blah, blah. But he's a loon.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to just say what he is. He has, basically, I describe this to people. You know what's happening now? Because people are aware about concussions and the problems with CTE. When you get hit and you get a dinger in football, they put you in the blue tent, in the sideline.
Yeah.
That's what needs to happen to Democrats. They need to go in the blue tent for a little bit, kind of, get your eyes checked and then come out and be rational again.
Yeah, cool off
and
a
De
little.
Niro needs to go in the blue tent. I mean, because it's not calming things down.
Even Robert De Niro's recent film choices tell a story of their own. For every classic like Goodfellas, critics point out that there are now several forgettable appearances in uneven comedies and streaming projects that quickly fade from public attention. The contrast can feel surprising for fans who remember his strongest work. Some observers compare it to watching a once brilliant chef serving simple fast food meals. The paychecks may still arrive, but people wonder whether the legacy takes a hit. Meanwhile, De Niro often speaks confidently, even as some audiences respond with quiet discomfort rather than admiration.
Phil Wegman, he's a buddy of mine, wonderful White House correspondent for Real Clear Politics. He's a serious journalist, right? And he, quote, tweets the press release and he says, one of the speakers will be Robert De Niro. My hand to God, my first thought was, good for Phil, this is funny. This is a good, funny joke. It's nice to see Phil let his hair down. And then I was like, wait a minute, Phil wouldn't make this joke in this situation. And I still couldn't believe it was real. I am absolutely flummoxed. That is the dumbest move that I've ever seen a presidential campaign make.
When discussions turn to politics, critics say De Niro sometimes approaches debates with the intensity of someone stepping into unfamiliar territory. His appearances can feel less like structured arguments and more like emotional reactions delivered in the spotlight. Supporters often describe him as passionate or outspoken, framing his comments as the voice of someone deeply engaged with current events. Critics, however, see it differently, arguing that volume and frustration occasionally overshadow clear reasoning. Megyn Kelly has highlighted this contrast during commentary segments, suggesting that much of the attention surrounding De Niro today comes not from the strength of his arguments, but from the lasting reputation he built during his legendary acting career.
And here's what De Niro said on Tuesday.
America's Philistine president has had himself appointed head of one of our premier cultural institutions. He has cut funding and support to the arts, humanities, and education. And now he has announced a 100% tariff on films produced outside the U.S. Let that sink in for a minute. You can't put a price on creativity, but apparently you can put a tariff on it. Of course, this is unacceptable. All these attacks are unacceptable. And this isn't just an American problem. It's a global one.
What do you make of that?
Well, it's a global problem because it's the greediness of these studios and some of these actors.
Part of what keeps the criticism alive is that De Niro's public statements frequently spark new reactions. Each interview, heated comment, or controversial appearance becomes fresh material for commentators who analyze his words. Supporters still treat his voice as influential, but critics argue that many viewers have largely tuned out the substance of what he says. To them, the outbursts blend into the background of constant political noise. Megyn Kelly often returns to this theme, suggesting that strong language or dramatic delivery does not automatically translate into meaningful insight or lasting influence.
From outside the courtroom, De Niro talking about what's going to happen. We keep hearing this from Rachel Maddow and others. If Trump wins, suggesting we'll never get rid of him. He's going to stay in office forever and ever. He will single-handedly bend the Constitution to his will. Sot one.
If Trump returns to the White House, you can kiss these freedoms goodbye that we all take for granted. And elections, forget about it. That's over. That's done. If he gets in, I can tell you right now.
Another point raised by critics focuses on the contrast between De Niro's success in Hollywood and his current political messaging. Over the years, he earned enormous wealth from blockbuster films and a thriving entertainment industry built on capitalism. Yet some commentators argue that his speeches now criticize the very system that helped elevate his career. Megyn Kelly has pointed to this tension, describing it as an example of celebrity hypocrisy that audiences sometimes find difficult to ignore. In her analysis, once the emotional language and sharp insults are removed, the arguments can appear thin. Meanwhile, political figures like Donald Trump continue to dominate public stages with high-energy appearances that keep supporters engaged.
Hypocrisy is alive and well amongst these sanctimonious leftists. From Kimmel to De Niro to Stephanopoulos, they want you to believe they're better than you, more virtuous, more decent. But we all know the truth. They lie. They sin. They do the very things they accuse you of and the things they say they would never do. Evil things, like try to destroy people.
For critics, the contrast between public figures becomes part of the story. They argue that Donald Trump projects confidence, momentum, and an ability to command attention from large crowds. By comparison, they see De Niro's recent appearances as more frustrated and reflective of someone searching for the same cultural relevance he once held in Hollywood. Even some defenders soften their support with phrases like "that's just Bob being Bob," which critics interpret as lowering expectations. In that view, remove the cameras, the supportive press, and the Hollywood environment, and De Niro simply becomes another voice in a crowded political debate.
He will never leave. You know that. He will never leave. What does that mean? Is that the country we want to live in? Do we want him running this country and saying, I'm not leaving, I'm dictator for life? This is not a threat. This is a reality. And that's why I've joined the Biden-Harris campaign, because the only way to preserve our freedoms and hold on to our humanity is to vote for Joe Biden for president. Really. We don't have a choice.
Okay, just to follow up on that, Dave, here's a little bit of the pushback that he was getting and how he handled it in SOT 2.
For these lowlives, for Trump.
They lied under oath.
They lied.
At this stage, some observers say De Niro's speeches feel less like structured political commentary and more like emotional releases delivered in public. Each rant or heated statement seems to reveal frustration rather than persuasion. Megyn Kelly often responds by dissecting those moments piece by piece, arguing that the image De Niro presents today looks very different from the fearless characters that once defined his film career. The performances that built his legend remain respected, but critics say the man behind the microphone now struggles to match the powerful reputation those roles created.